So we are back to domestic architecture with the house, the Villa Savoye, by an artist named La Corbusier. And this is a home in, well, near Paris, I should say. And it is a great example of how technology and industrialization is influencing domestic spaces. So, first and foremost, the quote you must know is by Corbusier himself, and it is the house should be a machine for living in. And it should be, modern in shape and design. It should be flexible. It should make life easier. That's what that quote encompasses. And we'll discuss how that shows through, how that is displayed and kept in mind when we talk about the interior structure and the content. And again, this is located just outside of Paris, and it was most likely a second home for people, the Savoye family who lived in Paris and probably used this for a second home. And again, he's inspired by modern machines, the streamlining of them, the shape of them, the simplicity of the look, of machines, both geometric and lacking of ornamentation. But not only that, he's looking back to the past and to a building in particular, like from the classical era, the Parthenon. The Parthenon with its mathematical perfection, with the balance, the harmony, the proportions being everything and being in relationship with each other, that to Le Corbusier was also very important. So this building is like a marriage of the two things together. The geometric forms, the proportions. In particular, he uses what we call the golden ratio in this building. And again, things related to each other through mathematics. We don't need to go into big detail about that, but knowing the term golden ratio and how everything is related to each other through mathematics in this building would be great. And then also, this is reinforced concrete. So concrete is a classical influence as well. But then, so that all of those things, the geometric forms, the proportions, and the concrete are the classical influences here, where Corbusier is looking to the past. But then, the sleekness of it, the geometric shapes of it, the fluidness of the structure, everything kind of moves into another part very fluidly. That's more of the modern age. And then the flexibility of design. So again, I'll show you that more in content. And then last, even though he was of the modern age machinist and that, which seems, again, very industrial, and it was, he still believed, though, in the importance of nature, in the organic, and being outside was important. So he creates a lot of windows to see the exterior and also a rooftop terrace so that the people living here, the Savoye family, could also enjoy the outside. Now, the other thing to know for Le Corbusier that's very important. So first thing is a house is a machine for living in. And two, his 5 points of architecture. And I would know all five. So he wrote a lot about his architectural philosophy, and you'd see pictures of cars in his book on architecture. You'd see images of classical temples, like from back in the Greek era. But he came up with 5 things that every piece of architecture should have. And if you have those, you could build a building on any site. So the first thing, and I point to it in the structure, is a pilotis or pilotis. And it's a thin concrete column, and some refer to like stilts. And so you definitely see that in the image. And it's interesting because some of them in the shorter sides of the building, the little stilts here are recessed back. The one I'm pointing to, you can see it's kind of tucked in a little bit. That makes it feel like the building is more floating. And then on the longer sides, those stilts are pilotis, I don't know how to pronounce it, are on the very edges of the building, and it gives it more structural stability. So it's interesting how he changes that on depending on what side you are using them in. So that's number one. Number two, no load-bearing walls inside. So yes, you have your four walls on the exterior that support and create an internal space. But your inside, you have flexibility. You can decide what you want and tell your architect, well, I want 3 bedrooms and a kitchen and this, and then your architect would then put up walls. But then if you decide, well, my kid just went off to school or whatever it might be, then you could take one of those interior walls down and it wouldn't disturb the structure at all. It wouldn't hurt the structural soundness of the building. So that gave it a lot of flexibility. Load bearing just means walls that are supporting the roof and essential for the roof to be supported and stand up. So you have none of those walls on the exterior or in the interior, sorry. Number three, you have a facade, the outside, that's free from internal structural design, meaning that whatever's going on inside, you don't need to reflect that on the exterior at all. It's not going to reveal it at all because you have that flexibility inside. You also have then a separate kind of distinct exterior decor, and it's always smooth, geometric, and with ribbon windows, which is next with Le Corbusier. So the ribbon windows are just long horizontal windows, usually a lot of them in continual, and it allows you to see the outside of your space and bring the nature inside. And then number five, continuing with nature, is a rooftop garden space. And I have an image later that will show you that. And so that's at the very top. The wall or the curving kind of projection on the very top of the building that you see is more like a wind wall to keep you protected when you are outside. So here's more of the content. I just talk about material. It's reinforced concrete. Again, just allows that great strength and return back to classical materials from the Romans. The bottom portion of the building, just to make the building look more like it's floating and hovering on the space, is painted green. And that was just a look he liked to have. And it just gives the lightness of the building and the modern nature of the building. The exterior, again, facade, straight, smooth, rectilinear, only interrupted really with the ribbon windows of glass. And that's typical of the style he works in, which is called the international style. Lots of glass, smooth, lacks ornamentation. Really, it's just the geometry that is the ornamentation. And the inside has the curves. So the exterior doesn't really reveal what's inside. You know, that's what we were talking about with these 5 kind of ideas of architecture. So the inside, and it's one of the College Board images that I'll show you at the end, there's a gentle kind of ramp that leads you from the bottom floor all the way up to the rooftop terrace. And that's a curving, very fluid part of the structure. And again, the terrace is on the roof. It is a room really without walls. It's an extension of the living space. And it does have that wind wall to help keep you protected from any kind of, just strong wind coming out of the direction. And just to reinforce also with the windows, he definitely thought about and helped the people design what's inside based on sunlight and to take advantage of the sunlight, because he thought that was such an important thing to, again, have in your life and in your home, whether it be outside or inside. So certain spaces were put in places to take advantage of the light and to make that experience the best it could be. Again, machine for living. Our house should be flexible and be able to take advantage of nature and be simplistic in design, but yet very usable, and give your patron a lot of options depending on his or their family's lifestyle. So these 2 images are your College Board images. The one on the left shows the exterior, and it's a great view, really, of most, except for the interior, the 5 pillars of his architectural philosophy. And then on the right-hand side, you see a little shot of the interior and that ramp. Again, the difference I like in that the left-hand side primarily is that rectilinear, very straight simplicity of the facade. And then the interior has that fluid, curving, kind of that exchange and difference of those 2 extremes. Gives it a really cool energy, that contrast of outside with inside. And then the last thing I wanted to show you, and I'll talk about formal qualities and function while you just look. Corbusier's portrait is in the upper left. These are some of the other structures. One in the upper right-hand corner is a church he did, and then the one in the lower left-hand corner I just loved for the color aspect of it too. I think that was one of the last buildings he ever designed. On the lower right, you see a model of the Villa Savoye, and you can just see that outdoor terrace section, a little bit of a view of the inside and the ramp, and just the structure from a little bit different angle. And then, of course, this building is one of the most important structures in art history, very influential modern architectural piece. So the Lego architectural set paid tribute to Corbusier with a set for this building. So I had to show you that. So formal qualities and function. Function is definitely a domestic space. So put it right up there with House of the Veti, Monticello, and other houses we've done throughout the curriculum. And then formal quality, definitely form. The form, that simplistic, very geometric, rectilinear form in the exterior, but then contrast that with the fluid, more kind of like organic or movement-based form in the interior with the ramp. That's one. And another formal quality could be color, because you're painting the bottom floor green. And that really helps to emphasize that sense, the columns there, the pilotis, and also the lightness of the building, the futuristic aspect of it there, and really does emphasize those rectilinear forms when you're not seeing that bottom level. It really emphasizes those. So again, that is the Villa Savoye, and that is outside of Paris by the very important modern architect Le Corbusier.